Hi Warren, how you going?
Not bad, Josh. What can I do for you today with this feedback?
So I just wanted to have a chat to you. I've just completed a training session, so two 30-minute training sessions and a 30-minute online assessment session with a group of 3 learners. It was for BSB TEC 203 research using the internet. I just wanted to have a chat to you about how I went with it and how you thought the program went as well. So I guess just to get started, we did have a couple of technical difficulties using Teams, just because the learners, not they weren't familiar with using Teams, but because they weren't using the freeware version, they were using the freeware version. We had a lot of issues with getting students into and out of breakout rooms, so we'd had a couple of dropouts every now and then. So it's something that we kind of worked with, but I think on reflection, when we're doing online training and assessment next time, either using a different program or being aware of those potential for those issues, because I felt like I was kind of blindsided by it. But did you have some questions for me too?
Yeah, I was just so did you get any feedback from your learners?
Yeah, absolutely. So on the whole, the feedback was pretty positive from all 3 learners. The main gripe that I think learner 2 Tabitha, she had dramas obviously with the connection issues, and we did have issues I think once with Belinda coming in and out of breakout rooms, where she'd come into a breakout room, no worries, and then she'd get booted out straight away, and that happened once with Belinda, and then it happened quite a few times with Tabitha. So whether that was an internet connection issue or it was because I'm using an enterprise version of Teams and they're using the free browser version, possibly the 2 weren't syncing up and it recognized that as an issue and booted them. I'm not too sure, but we got through everything. But that was one of the main concerns that our learners had. So I guess moving forward, that would be something I would need to address, either by changing software or ensuring our learners have access to a better version of Microsoft Teams rather than the freeware, which might be a bit of an ask for some people. In general though, no, everyone was happy with the training. The only other concern, and this is actually on reflection for myself, I think I'll do this better in our next assessment session. The assessments themselves, the time frames were really tight for them to get everything done. So everyone completed the written exam. It was only 5 questions. They had 5 minutes to complete that. So that was pretty straightforward, and the questions weren't overly difficult because it's a pretty generalized course. But the practical component, which is more so the group being in a synchronous environment all together and completing what we'd probably call an assignment, I think they all felt a little bit rushed doing that. So either giving them more time next time or just scaffolding that 10-minute session a bit better, I think would probably be the way to move forward with that assessment, so we don't have that, I guess, more negative feedback next time.
So, obviously you've identified the problem with the IT and possible solutions.
Yeah.
Have you identified any other improvements that you could make?
Well, after I reviewed some of the footage, I did realise that I do tend to use the word a lot, and I think I'm reasonably new to delivering the training, so and once it was pointed out to me, I try to do a bit less, but I even think I'm doing it now. So that's one thing I'm going to have to work on, I think. So that really comes down to the confidence in what I was delivering in that particular course. I think once I've done that a few more times and I've had a bit more time to practice with the delivery of content and getting a variety of different questions from some of the students or the learners, that would be something that will dry up a bit. But yeah, that was one thing that I definitely noticed when I reviewed the footage, and I know you pointed it out the other day that there's a lot of going through the course. So, and I guess that doesn't necessarily instill a lot of confidence in the learners in their trainer if every second word they're hearing is or are on. It kind of makes me sound like I'm not too sure what I'm talking about, which doesn't help them very much.
You will find that in a lot of cases that's just nerves. A lot of teachers, when they start out, they have little idiosyncrasies that they can overcome.
Yep.
If they're pointed out. It is hard work to try and overcome some of them, because some of them have been placed into your, I suppose, they become a habit more than anything else.
Yeah.
And we do find that with a lot of, and there I'm going to do it, is that is that your confidence in yourself, maybe not necessarily in what you're actually delivering, but in how you're feeling. And you'll find that a lot of teachers are very nervous when they actually start. So doing a lot of ums and ahs and so on, there are experienced teachers that do it. They do find that people that do come into this job are more introvert people that don't like getting up in front of people, don't like speaking. So I'm not looking at the amount that you did. It was very high, but not unusual for somebody coming into the teaching. But if you can try and get on top of that, that would be really, really good.
That, I guess the thing I noticed too, Warren, is that I delivered a different training course the other day, and I was much more confident, but much more versed in the content that I was delivering. And if I dropped an it would have been probably, like you said, something that was more habitual rather than me just trying to fill the space with noise. And I thought about it. I was thinking about it afterwards. I don't think I was actually able to stop talking to the group because I had so much knowledge on that topic, and I was pretty confident with what I was delivering. Also felt in that particular instance, because it wasn't online, it was in a classroom, I felt a lot more comfortable. Whereas the online environment, I mean, I'm also a little bit, what's the word? I guess self-conscious when I see myself talking back at myself. So I can see myself now, and you can't help but look at yourself and go, yeah, it's a bit of a, I guess, imposter syndrome sort of thing. So that's something I guess I'm overcoming with the online component of this as well.
So rather than dwell on the negative, what do you think you did well?
I think my interactions with the students was very positive. There was one issue with one of the learners. He kept grabbing hold of his phone and he was kind of distracted. So I addressed that as a group first up, just so that I didn't want to isolate him and sort of crack down too hard. But when that behavior continued, instead of saying, right, Luke, we're going to put you in this different room and we're going to have a chat, and making it really obvious, I just waited for an opportunity where everybody went into a breakout room to complete an activity. And then once that was done and I was able to talk to Luke one-on-one, I sort of just said, look, the phone use has been a bit heavy. Let's just ease up on that. And he was really receptive to that too. So I feel like I was able to address that issue calmly. There was no aggression. It really wasn't a problem. I think that maybe even he didn't really realize that, obviously everyone can see him with the webcam, everyone can hear everything. So when he's opening up things on his phone, he can hear it and everyone else can hear it. And that's a bit of a distraction. So I feel like I was able to talk to the group politely and respectfully, but also, enforce firm boundaries with the training. And that issue didn't arise again throughout the rest of the course. So I felt that was pretty good. And they're, it's a two-way street. They were a good group to deal with as well. So, it wasn't just everything that I was doing. They were also very polite and respectful of each other as well during the course. So I feel like everyone went well with that respect in respect to that.
Yes, you can find that setting out boundaries around, especially mobile phone use, very early on in the course, can lead to less problems.
Yeah.
A lot of people, it is almost an addiction. They cannot not answer that phone.
Yeah.
And I know that people get annoyed with me because I don't answer the phone. I just leave it on my desk and they'll say, aren't you going to get that? And I said, no, I'm talking to you.
Yeah.
So if they can wait. And then if it rings twice, then I might think, oh, this might be urgent.
Yeah.
So it's almost like we need to be contacted 24/7.
Yeah.
So how we address that is very different for our different cohort of students, depending on who you're teaching. And it is a tool that some of our students use every day.
Yeah.
And it's not just a communication method that has so much more on it.
Yeah, of course.
So how we utilise that, using it for good, not evil, is always the hard part.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So how do you plan to implement any changes in the delivery?
So in the delivery of training, I think becoming more familiar with the content myself will help with reducing the amount of, I guess, the ums that I'm putting in there. The biggest gripe that I had though was with the time frames for getting assessment. So we had to be pretty quick on times. Obviously, we're limited to 30 minutes with that. So maybe preparing the students a bit better with maybe a written document for some of the expectations, rather than me sort of waffling on about it, and being a bit more clear and concise, and I guess bullet point led when I was starting the assessment time, so that within that 30-minute window we have more time to actually conduct the assessment and do that properly, rather than trying to rush them through it and trying to fit everything in, if that makes sense. That's I think I'll look at how that entire session is sort of laid out in the assessment part of it. But as far as the actual training delivery went, I think that's just really comes down to my like how I'm going to be delivering it and my confidence with the content itself.
And the amount of content that you cover in a period of time is a real art. To look at something and say, oh, how long is this going to take me to deliver? Not only is it going to be the material, but there's also the cohort you're delivering it to.
Yeah.
And sometimes we either allow too much time, which can then leave the students bored and restless.
Yeah.
Having something, if you do finish early, is always handy, review questions and so on that they can then move on to. And if the cohort is not absorbing the information at the rate that you're going, and you have to slow down, sometimes it's okay to say, okay, well, I'm not going to get through this, so I'm going to change where I'm going to get to for this cohort.
Yeah.
Rather than just keeping on soldering on, because once you've lost them, the building blocks are not going to be there. So sometimes it is better to say, you know what, I've mucked up here. I'm going to slow down and I'm not going to get through all of this, and maybe I'll take some more time at the end just to review rather than go into that assessment straight away.
Yeah, that's good.
That's always, you can always pick the time up again later somewhere else.
Yep.
Especially when you're running a long program, which I know this one was only a short one, but I've on many occasions I team teach with people, so we have a goal where we get to. And it is not often where I'll say to the other teacher, oh, I only got to here, or I got past where I was supposed to go because the cohort was going well, and then we make sure we've got the review questions ready for them at the end, and other activities that they can then do. Have other plans if you finish early, but don't be afraid to say, hey, we're going to have to extend this.
Yep, great.
So is there anything I can do to help you within this delivery?
I think moving forward, I think we have a bit of a review, maybe a play in-house with the software, so that if we do have any IT issues like I did have, that we can either address them quickly or we don't have them in the first place. But apart from that, no, I think you've been very helpful and supportive, Warren. I really appreciate all of your feedback. And like I said, I guess a lot of the work to do with this particular course is in my own delivery and how I approach it. So yeah, I appreciate you taking the time to have this meeting with me today, mate.
No worries. Always happy to help teachers improve their delivery and give advice, because we need to make our teachers the best that we can, and supported by senior teachers like myself.
Yeah, cool. Well, thanks very much. I'll talk to you again soon.
No worries, Josh. Bye-bye.